friends, today we are going to see the Raman spectroscopy. As we know, there are the several regions of the spectrum, energy spectrum, and we have seen the microwave region, IR region, visible region, and so on. Okay, so the Raman spectroscopy that will be studied in the microwave region, or it can be studied in the mid IR region. So, as we know, the microwave spectroscopy is useful for the molecules which possesses the permanent dipole moment. And the Raman spectroscopy, it is used for the molecules which are inactive initially to the rotational spectra, but when that molecule kept in the electric field, they will get polarized, or the induced polarization is there, and that's why we will get the spectrum. So we will see the Raman spectroscopy in detail. So Raman spectroscopy that was given by C.V. Raman in 1928, and this is a technique which is used to observe the vibration, rotational and other low frequency modes in a system. Raman spectroscopy is commonly used in chemistry to provide a fingerprint by which molecules can be identified. And when the radiation passes through the transparent medium, the species present scatter a fraction of beam in all directions. So simply as we have taken the solution, and solution will be transparent, and take the solution in a cuvette and pass some radiations from the solution. So the molecules or the species which is present in the solution which we have taken in the cuvette, the some amount of light get absorbed and some will get scattered in the beam in the all direction. So simply there is a scattering of light observed, and Raman scattering result from the same type of the quantities vibration change associated with the IR spectra. Then here is a Rayleigh scattering and the Raman scattering. Only objects whose dimensions are on the order of 1 to 1.5 lambda will scatter electromagnetic radiations. And here is a definition of the Rayleigh scattering. So Rayleigh scattering, the scattering of light by the particles in a medium without change in the wavelength. Means when there is a scattering occurs and the change of the change in the wavelength does not occurs, that type of scattering known as a Rayleigh scattering, means wavelength is constant. Then next is the Raman scattering, the scattering of radiation with the change of frequency. It's called as a Raman scattering. So in the Rayleigh scattering, wavelength is constant, and in the Raman scattering there is a change in the frequency. So Raman spectroscopy is a technique that uses scattered light resulting from photon molecule collisions to investigate molecular properties. So in the Raman spectroscopy, we have to find out the collisions of a photon and molecule will occurs, and from this the scattering of light will be done, and so that we can study the molecular properties of the molecule. Then if the monochromatic radiation or the radiation of a very narrow frequency band is used, the scattered energy will consist almost entirely of radiation of the incident frequency. So this is the Rayleigh scattering which we have seen here. But in addition, certain discrete frequencies above and below that of the incident beam will be scattered, and it is this which is referred as a Raman scattering. So we will see the important point from Raman spectroscopy, and that point is quantum theory of Raman effect. So the quantum theory of Raman effect, it treats radiation of frequency nu as a consisting of a stream of particles. Okay, Suppose we have taken a radiation, okay, and that radiation is of a frequency nu. We know any radiation has energy E, its frequency is nu, its wavelength is lambda, its velocity is c. So simply, quantum theory treats a radiation of frequency nu, which consists of a particles. Okay, so simply radiation beam whose frequency is nu as a consisting of stream of particles h nu. As we know, E is equal to h nu, having energy h nu, where h is a Planck's constant. Photons can undergo collisions with the molecule, and if the collision is perfectly elastic, they will be deflected unchanged. Means simply you can consider when we have a photon of energy h nu and we have the molecules. So when the photon and the molecule will get collide, what will happen? The energy will get exchanged. Okay, and when the energy of the photon is absorbed by the molecule, it will undergo transition, and it moves from the lowest state to the highest state. So here photon can undergo collision with the molecule, and if the collision is perfectly elastic, they will be deflected unchanged. And a detector is placed to collect energy at a right angle to an incident beam, will thus receive the photons of energy h nu, and that is radiation of frequency nu. So in the Raman spectrophotometer, a detector is always kept at a right angle of an incident beam of light, thus it will receive the photons of energy h nu, that is the radiation frequency nu. When there is elastic scattering, can be like to a ball bearing striking a rigid table, the ball bearing bounces off the table without any loss of energy. So when we can take a ball bearing and that will be bounced on a rigid table, it does not lose any kind of energy. So it is a elastic scattering. So energy is exchanged between photon and molecule during the collision. Such collisions are called as inelastic. Means simply the molecule and the photon exchanges their energy, and that phenomena is called as inelastic. And when the photon and the molecule does not exchange its energy, phenomenon is a elastic collision. So we require the inelastic collision. Energy is exchanged between photon and molecule during the collision. So the molecule can gain or lose amount of energy, that is energy change delta E joules, difference between two of its allowed states. So see here, I have taken diagram. Here in the Raman spectroscopy we can get two kinds of lines, Stokes lines and the anti-Stokes lines. So consider the vibrational energy levels, and the energy level number is here V is equal to 0 and V is equal to 1. So transitions occurs from 0 to 2 because our selection rules for the Raman spectroscopy, these are different than the microwave spectroscopy. For the microwave spectroscopy, selection rule are delta J is equal to plus minus 1, but for the Raman spectroscopy, selection rule is delta J is equal to plus minus 2. And when we get the Stokes lines, the selection rule is delta J is equal to plus 2, and the anti-Stokes lines delta J is equal to minus 2. So 0 to 2. So here V is equal to 0, V is equal to 1 and V is equal to 2. So when our molecule is initially at the ground state and we have provided the radiation, okay, and this is a external energy containing radiation bombarded on the ground state, and this ground state molecule absorbs that energy, goes to the excited state. So excited state is a higher energy containing state and the ground state is of a lower energy. But when the excited state molecule, when comes to the ground state, it does not comes directly at the ground state, but it will stops at the another state which is in between. So it has a higher energy and it does not comes to a lower energy. So that energy difference is given here, H in bracket nu Ex minus nu V. So simply I will explain it. If the molecule gain energy delta E, the photon will scattered with energy h nu minus delta E, and frequency of radiation is nu minus delta E upon H. Okay, so see here Stokes line scattering is like this. Initially delta E is equal to h nu is there, and the molecule from the ground state absorbs the energy after collision with the photon and goes to the excited state. So excited state is of a higher energy, and when molecule comes to the ground state, it does not comes at the lower state V is equal to 0, but it will stops at V is equal to 1. So as we know, the photon has a higher energy as compared to molecule initially, but when photon absorbs energy and goes to the excited state, photon's energy will be absorbed by the molecule and molecule goes to the excited state. So the photon energy will get decreased and the molecule energy will get increased. So molecule's energy is VV, or the frequency is suppose VV, and the photon is V0. So the total energy of the photon will get decreased, and that is delta E is equal to H in a bracket the frequency of the photon minus frequency of the emitted radiation. So this is the equation, or you can take the equation nu minus delta E upon H. Then also we can get the anti-Stokes lines. So anti-Stokes lines are like this. The transition occurs obviously from ground state to the excited state, and when there is a return, we have to consider the returning state or the returning molecule. So as we have taken here, the transition occurs from 0 to 2. So suppose this is our excited state. So molecule should come to the ground state, V is equal to 0 after completion of the reaction. So here is a V is equal to 0 state, V is equal to 1 state, V is equal to 2 state. Okay. So from 2 state to 0 state, 0 is our final state and 2 is our excited state. So 0 minus 2, what will be the difference? It is delta J is equal to minus 2. When we get the delta J is equal to minus 2, this is a anti-Stokes line. So in this case, the photon of energy Ex, or it is equal to h nu Ex, that will be bombarded on the molecule. Molecule absorbs energy, goes to the excited state, and then comes to the ground state. So when molecule is coming to the ground state, it directly comes to V is equal to 0 state, or the lower state, means molecule's energy is much lower and that will be transferred to the photon. So photon's energy will get increased, and we can get the equation delta E is equal to H in bracket nu 0 plus nu E. So here for the Stokes lines, the energy of the photon will get decreased, and for the anti-Stokes lines, energy of the photon will get increased. So that's why when we draw the one graph or one diagram of both Stokes lines and anti-Stokes line together, this will appear like this. Initially this is a mu or a nu Ex. Okay, so nu Ex, it is a central frequency, and at the right side the frequency is going to increase, and at the left side frequency is going to decrease. So here, as in this figure we have seen, the photon energy is going to decrease. So Stokes lines will be observed at the left side. As we know, energy is directly proportional to frequency. As the frequency decreasing, obviously energy will be decreasing. So Stokes lines are of less energy and the less frequency than the nu Ex, and the anti-Stokes lines having the higher frequency and the higher energy. So such kind of the Stokes and anti-Stokes lines can be observed in the Raman spectroscopy. And the Raman effect occurs when the light impinging upon a molecule and interacts with the electron cloud and the bounds of that molecule. For the spontaneous Raman effect, which is a form of light scattering, a photon excites the molecule from the ground state to a virtual energy state, and when the molecule relaxes, it emits a photon and it returns to a different rotational or vibrational state. So initially molecule goes to the excited state and comes to the down, but at every time it does not come at the ground state v is equal to 0. It will rest at v is equal to 1 or v is equal to 2 also. Okay, so such kind of the virtual transitions will be observed in the Raman spectroscopy. The difference in energy between the original state and this new state leads to a shift in the emitted photon's frequency away from the excitation wavelength. So the Raman effect, which is a light scattering phenomenon, should not be confused with absorption, where the molecule is excited to a discrete energy level. Then second is a classical theory of the Raman effect. So in the Raman effect, as we know, the polarizability is most important. So polarizability, when the molecule is put into a static electric field, it suffers some kind of the distortion. For example, we have taken the HCl molecule and we have taken this HCl in an electric field. What happens? The positively charged electrode is there and the negatively charged electrode is there. So positive end will get attracted toward the negative electrode and the negative end will get attracted towards the positive electrode. So simply there is a regular arrangement of the HCl molecules will be observed in the electric field. So when we take the any kind of molecule and that molecule shows the charge separation in the electric field. So when we take the molecule, it will show some kind of distortion, and that distortion is called as a polarizability. So the positively charged nuclei attracted toward the negative pole of the field, the electrons to the positive pole. So the separation of charge centers causes an induced electric dipole moment and the molecule is said to be polarized. So when we have taken any molecule in the electric field or the electrostatic field and we have observed there is a charge separation, there is a dipole formation or there is a pole formation, so simply molecule is said to be the polarized. And the size of the induced dipole mu depends both on the magnitude of the applied field E and the amount of distortion of the molecule. So electric field we have applied, its magnitude is capital E and the amount of distortion of the molecule, that both things are important. So induced dipole is mu. See here, mu is a induced dipole. So the displacements results in an induced dipole moment mu is equal to alpha E. So E is a electric field and alpha is also called as the electric polarizability of the molecule. The Raman interaction leads to two possible outcomes. if the material absorbs energy and the emitted photon has a lower energy than the absorbed photon. This is the Stokes lines. So as we have seen here in this diagram, Stokes lines have the less energy as compared to the nu Ex, or the photon which we have bombarded on the sample, and the anti-Stokes lines are lines having the higher frequency and the higher energy as compared to the photons. So alpha is the electric polarizability of the molecule, and the Raman interaction leads to two kind of possible outcomes. If the material absorbs energy and the emitted photon has a lower energy than the absorbed photon, this is a Stokes-Raman scattering, while for anti-Stokes-Raman scattering is reverse. On the spectrum of the scattered photons is the Raman spectrum. It shows the intensity of the scattered light as a function of its frequency difference, delta nu. So the Raman spectrum is a spectrum of the intensity of the scattered light as a function of its frequency difference, that is a delta nu, to the incident photons. So what actually happens in the Raman scattering? So see, when light hits the samples, consider this is our sample and this green is a light. So when light incident on the sample or light hits a sample, the sample get excited and it's forced to vibrate and move. So it is these vibrations which we are measuring in the Raman spectroscopy. So such kind of the Raman spectrum will be observed. Here this one is a Rayleigh scattering line, and at the left side of that we will get the Stokes lines, and at the right side we will get the anti-Stokes lines. So a Raman spectrum is a plot of intensity of the Raman scattered radiation as a function of its frequency difference from the incident radiation, and the unit is usually in the wave numbers, that is per centimeter, and this difference is called as a Raman shift, delta nu. Then this is a simple Raman spectrograph. So this is a block diagram of a Raman spectrophotometer. Here is a laser sample, then here is a laser or Rayleigh rejection notch filter is there, then here is a spectrograph, and here is a detector. So such kind of a block diagram of the Raman spectrograph is given here, and the electric field experienced by each molecule varies with equation. As we have seen here, the induced dipole is mu is equal to alpha E. So when we consider the molecule which is present in the electric field and it has experienced some kind of the distortion, that is induced dipole is there. So we have to calculate its energy, and that energy can be calculated by this equation. E is equal to E0 sine 2 pi nu t. So nu is a frequency. Then dipole also undergoes oscillations of frequency nu. So our equation which we have written already, this is mu is equal to alpha E. So alpha is again a constant, and which we have taken here. It is a electric polarizability, and its equation of the induced dipole that can be rewritten as alpha into, you have to write this value here, alpha into E0 into sine 2 pi nu t. So this is the equation to calculate the induced dipole of the molecule which undergo oscillation, and it has a oscillation frequency nu. So see this diagram, And this diagram is of a hydrogen molecule that kept in an electric field, and its polarizability ellipsoid is shown in this diagram, and this is seen along and across the bond axis. So see, here is a H2 molecule in the figure A and in the figure B. You can see that here is a H2 molecule kept in the electric field. So this is the direction of the electric field, and when we take the linear molecule, initially we have taken this molecule and kept that molecule in the electric field, and that molecule will get oriented like this in the presence of the electric field. So here we can see that the along and across the bond axis the polarizability will be observed. So see, the ellipsoid structure will be like this. When we keep the molecule like this, the ellipsoid structure is this one, and when there is a regular arrangement is there is a charge separation, there is a dipole, so we will observe such a kind of the electric field and its polarizability ellipsoid for the H2 molecule. So here A and B end on and sideways orientations can be shown respectively. So in A diagram, the end on orientations are shown. In the diagram B, sideways orientations are shown. The electrons forming the bond are most easily displaced by the field along the bond axis than that across the bond axis A, and thus polarizability is said to be anisotropic. So dipole moment for a given field applied along the axis is approximately twice as large as that induced by the same field applied across the axis. So when we found the dipole moment, okay, so that dipole moment is much larger when the orientation is applied along the axis, and when we will apply the orientation across the bond axis, it is less as compared to the along the axis. And its energy is also calculated by this equation. E is equal to E0 sine 2 pi nu t, and the induced dipole moment that will be calculated, mu is equal to alpha E. And also I have one diagram here